When you make some mistake, it's great.
40 shots came flying toward the Slovak net. Only one got through. A defending Olympic champion filled with NHL stars kept attacking, but the puck refused to cross the line. When the horn sounded, the scoreboard showed 4-1. The center of that result was one man in goal. Samuel Hlavaj delivered a record-setting performance that changed the opening night of the Olympic tournament. Slovakia defeated Finland 4-1 in the Group B preliminary round of the 2026 Winter Olympics men's hockey tournament, according to NHL.com. The game was played at the Santa Giulia Arena in Milan. Finland entered the tournament as the reigning Olympic gold medalist from Beijing 2022. The matchup was expected to test Slovakia early in group play. Finland controlled the puck for long stretches. They generated 40 shots on goal. Slovakia produced fewer attempts, finishing with 25 shots. The difference on the scoreboard did not match the difference in shot total. That gap pointed directly to the crease. Samuel Hlavaj made 39 saves. That total set a new Slovak Olympic record for most saves in a tournament game featuring NHL-player. The previous mark was 37, set in 2014 by John Lacko. Hlavaj's performance moved him to the top of that category in national Olympic history under the NHL format. The first period showed how the night would unfold. Finland pushed the pace and recorded 18 shots in the opening frame. Hlavaj stopped every one of them. The period ended scoreless. Slovakia remained in the game despite heavy pressure in its defensive zone. The breakthrough came in the second period. Juraj Slavkovsky scored to give Slovakia a 1-0 lead. Later in the same period, Dalibor Dvorsky added another goal, extending the advantage to 2-0. Slovakia converted on limited chances, while Finland continued to search for a finish. In the third period, Finland finally broke through. Eeli Tolvanen scored to cut the lead to 2-1. The goal increased the intensity on both benches. Finland pressed forward with stronger offensive zone entries and deeper cycles along the boards. Slovakia responded quickly. Slavkovsky scored his second goal of the game, restoring a 2-goal margin. The timing shifted momentum back towards Slovakia. Finland continued to attack, but Hlavaj maintained control of rebounds and tracked shots through traffic. Slovakia head coach Craig Ramsey praised his goaltender. He said he was outstanding. The statement reflected the impact of 39 saves against one of the most experienced rosters in the tournament. Finland captain Alexander Barkov acknowledged the missed opportunities. He stated, "We entered the net." Hlavaj plays in the Minnesota Wild organization and has competed with the Iowa Wild in the American Hockey League. He was previously undrafted before signing in North America. His Olympic start placed him against established NHL players in a high-pressure setting. The victory gave Slovakia a strong start in Group B. Finland opened with a loss, increasing pressure in its remaining preliminary games. Early group results matter for seeding in the knockout stage. The final numbers showed a clear contrast. Finland led in shots, Slovakia led in goals. Hlavaj's save total stood as the key statistic of the night. His record-setting performance defined the outcome and reshaped early tournament discussion. On opening night in Milan, a defending champion met a goaltender who refused to give ground. 39 saves turned pressure into frustration. A 4-1 result entered the official record, and Slovakia moved forward in the tournament with a win built on goaltending strength.
The Oilers poured it on, but come out empty-handed, lose their third straight into the break for Edmonton.
I don't know. There's many things that are part of it. Not consistent enough. Can't defend. Penalty kill is not great. We're just giving up too many goals. I think there's saves that our goalies need to make at some point. This league's too hard, to just like lollygag through games. You need everybody. It starts with coaches. You're never going to win if you have 4 or 5 guys going. It starts at the top. We can be better, our leaders can be better. We're not the same team. We're not as good right now. We're not even close. We need to understand that. It's time. Obviously, there's a break now, but when we come back, we gotta get going.
Something feels off in Edmonton. The Oilers walked into the Olympic break carrying more than just losses. Back-to-back defeats. A rivalry loss at home. Public frustration from inside the locker room. Numbers that no contender wants attached to their season. The break arrived, but the problems did not stop. And what surfaced in the final games raised concerns that cannot be ignored. The Edmonton Oilers reached the Olympic break after consecutive losses that followed the same pattern. The most recent defeat came against the Calgary Flames in the Battle of Alberta. Edmonton scored early and stayed close, but the game turned late. Calgary scored the deciding goal in the final period, and the Oilers could not respond before time expired. Leon Draisaitl scored twice in that game, providing most of Edmonton's offense. Kasperi Kapanen also found the net. Calgary received scoring from multiple players, including the goal that settled the game. The Oilers allowed key chances late, and Calgary goaltender Devin Cooley stopped repeated attempts during the final push. That loss followed a defeat against the Toronto Maple Leafs at home. Toronto controlled long stretches of play and scored several times from different players. Edmonton managed goals from Jake Wallman and Kasperi Kapanen, but the response ended early. After falling behind, the Oilers struggled to regain momentum and spent long periods defending. Across these games, the same issues appeared. Edmonton allowed goals at critical moments. Defensive coverage broke down near the net. Opponents converted on special teams. These problems were not isolated to one game. They continued through the final stretch before the break. The Oilers' penalty kill declined during this period. Opposing teams scored during power play, often shifting the flow of game. Edmonton's power play, usually a strength, did not offset those goals against. When chances came, the timing favored the opposition. Goaltending also became part of the discussion. Tristan Jarry faced steady pressure in recent games. Goals were allowed during high-danger moments. Saves were made, but stops did not always come when momentum was on the line. As games tightened, the margin for error disappeared. After the loss to Calgary, Leon Draisaitl spoke openly. He said the team lacked consistency and stressed that winning required effort from everyone. He also stated that improvement must start at the top. His words reflected frustration with repeated outcomes rather than one poor night. At the pause, the Edmonton Oilers remained in the playoff race. The standings showed little separation between teams. Points lost in regulation carried weight. Games before the break had already shaped that position. The Olympic break stopped the schedule, but it did not change the record. Defensive trends stayed visible. Special teams results stayed attached. Goaltending performance remained part of the data. When play resumes, those issues return with the team, unchanged by time away from the ice. The loss to Toronto reflected those same issues. After allowing quick goals, Edmonton spent the rest of the game chasing. Puck possession dropped. Zone time became shorter. Shot attempts came from the outside. Toronto remained composed and protected its lead without needing extended pressure. The Battle of Alberta loss carried added weight because of the rivalry. Edmonton stayed competitive but could not close the game. The deciding goal came after defensive coverage broke down. The response time disappeared. The final minutes passed without a tying goal. Goaltending remained under scrutiny during this stretch. Tristan Jarry faced repeated scoring chances from close range. Some saves kept games close. Others did not come when needed most. As pressure increased, mistakes carried larger consequences. Leon Draisaitl's post-game comments drew attention because of their clarity. He spoke about effort, consistency, and responsibility. He said winning required commitment from the entire group. He also pointed to leadership and structure. His words matched what the results showed on the ice. At the break, the Edmonton Oilers stayed within playoff position, but the margin remained thin. Other teams in the division continued to gain ground. Each loss before the pause affected that balance. Time away from games did not fix defensive habits. It did not change special teams' performance. It did not alter goaltending statistics. Those elements stayed recorded and unchanged. When play resumes, Edmonton returns with the same record, the same recent trends, and the same expectations. The break offered rest, but it did not erase what happened before it. The next game will begin with those facts already in place.
Highly competitive tonight, I thought right from the get-go we were highly competitive. Our goalie was good, and special teams were really good.
The Toronto Maple Leafs entered a major pause in their season with a win that surprised many hockey observers and shifted the tone around the club's recent play. The team's coach delivered statements that caught attention and changed the narrative about confidence and readiness as the break approached. After a strong victory to end the road trip, the same coach spoke publicly about his team's belief in itself and its preparation for the coming pause, which created a tone not widely seen from this club earlier in the season. Toronto's final game before the break was against the Edmonton Oilers, and the Maple Leafs won 5-2. That victory marked the club's third straight win, and the streak gave Toronto momentum before play stopped for the Olympic Winter Games. The run also came after a period of inconsistency for the team, and the win took place in Edmonton's home arena, which completed a difficult road trip for Toronto's roster. The team improved its record with this result and strengthened its position in the standings. Head coach Craig Berube spoke to reporters after the game and outlined clear reasons why the win and the streak mattered to the club. Berube said the team showed a high level of competitiveness competitiveness, and he credited the goaltender's performance along with the special team for playing key roles in the outcome.
Well, it's a lot of confidence, and like we talked about coming out of the break, we got to be prepared and ready to go because we got obviously some catching up to do here. So, but 3 wins going on the break is it's a good boost for our team, and I'm proud of our team the way they competed on this road trip.
Berube used specific wording about what the recent results have done for his team, and he said, "It is a lot of confidence. 3 wins going into the break is a good boost for our team." That quote made headlines because it represented a direct and positive assessment from the Maple Leafs coach after a stretch of adversity earlier in the season. The coach was asked about how players handled the challenges of the road trip, and he stated that the way the team competed was something he was proud of. He linked the team's recent performance directly to the concept of confidence, and that word appeared repeatedly in his answers. Confidence had not been a common description connected to this team earlier in the year, which made his tone notable. Berube also praised individual contributions, and he made specific mention of defenseman Jake McCabe. Berube pointed out McCabe's assist and his heavy minutes on the ice during the win, and he emphasized that McCabe faced top offensive lines while delivering a strong performance under pressure. That comment referenced McCabe's verified role in the game and highlighted measurable contributions. In his public comments, Berube addressed the larger context around the Maple Leafs season and acknowledged that rumors were circulating about possible changes before the league's trade deadline. There's been discussion in media circles about whether the Maple Leafs might shift into selling assets rather than buying for a playoff push, and Berube spoke to that environment without naming specific players or teams. He noted that outside speculation is part of professional hockey, and players must filter through that noise while staying focused on performance. The Maple Leafs 5-2 win featured multiple scoring contributions. Matias Maccelli scored 2 goals, including 1 on the power play, while Matthew Nice added a goal and an assist. John Tavares scored his 20th of the season, and Bobby McMahon added an empty net goal. Goaltender Anthony Stolarz made 34 saves in the victory, and those measurable events form the foundation of the 3-game winning streak. Toronto sits 5 points out of a playoff spot at the break, and that position reflects the direct measurement of games won, lost, and tied throughout the season. Berube emphasized readiness as a priority once the break ends, and he spoke about preparation rather than outcomes. His focus remained on ensuring the team returns with the same level of competitiveness that fueled the recent streak. A measurable component of Toronto's recent success includes improved defensive play and effective special teams execution. The power play converted during critical moments, and the goaltender's saves prevented Edmonton from closing the gap after the game was tied early in the 3rd period. Toronto then capitalized on a 5-on-3 advantage, which proved decisive in securing the win. The structure of the Maple Leafs season after the break includes several important games that will influence their playoff hopes, and the 3 consecutive victories entering the pause represent a concrete positive trend. The streak is a factual count of successive wins, and it shapes the narrative heading into the second half of the schedule. Berube's remarks, delivered in direct quotes and reported by verified sources, represent his public assessment of his team's recent performance, along with its confidence and readiness moving forward. Those comments provide insight into how the coach described the team's mindset at that specific moment in time as the club paused its season with momentum.
I think that's got to be the main point of focus each and every night. Like, we don't have to be the best team in the world every single night, but we need everybody to compete, and we need everybody to just play good. Everybody just has to go out there and do their job and play good. And just the consistency, that's been a big part of it.
Something changed inside the Maple Leafs room, and it didn't happen during the game. It happened after. One short statement from the captain. Calm words, sharp meaning. Fans caught it instantly. Media replayed it again and again. The coach had just sent a message. Hours later, the captain answered, and what followed quietly shifted the conversation around this team. The moment came after practice, not during a game. Austin Matthews stood in front of reporters as the Toronto Maple Leafs tried to reset after another difficult stretch. The team had struggled to close game. Defensive lapses had cost points. Pressure was building. Earlier, head coach Craig Berube had addressed the issue directly. He pointed to leadership. He said the team's leaders needed to take more control.
I thought we just made it really easy for them. The neutral zone was, a highway for them to get through, and I don't know. We just made it so easy for them, and they're obviously a skilled team, a lot of talent, a lot of speed, and I don't think we put enough stress on them on both sides of the puck.
That context mattered when Matthews spoke. Matthews did not raise his voice. He did not criticize teammates. He did not challenge the coaching staff. His words were measured. "We can all be better," Matthews said. He pointed to the last 2 games and called them frustrating. He added that responsibility would fall on the leaders and said he was fine with that. He stressed grinding, consistency, and sticking to what worked earlier in game. They came hours after Berub's blunt assessment following a loss, when the coach said the leaders had to take control more than they were. Berub's style has been direct since arriving in Toronto. He speaks plainly after losses. He places accountability where he believes it belongs. After recent results, that spotlight turned toward the leadership group. At the same time, Berube had been openly praising Matthews' on-ice play. Before a recent game, Berube said Matthews was driving play, creating chances, and playing with pace and determination. That praise was public. It was specific. It focused on effort and approach, not just scoring. This exchange happened during a stretch filled with major moments for Matthews. He had just returned from injury. Soon after, he broke the Maple Leafs' all-time goal-scoring record, passing Matt Sundin. He scored his 421st goal in fewer games than any player in franchise history. That achievement came during a loss, which kept the focus on team results rather than celebration. Inside that environment, Matthews' words took on extra meaning. The captain was not speaking as a player chasing milestones. He was speaking as the face of the team during a moment of scrutiny. His message echoed the coach's demand for urgency and detail. It reinforced accountability without pointing fingers. Fans noticed the timing. Analysts noted the alignment. The conversation shifted from systems and tactics to leadership and response. The reaction to Matthews' comments spread quickly because of what followed on the ice. In the games surrounding those statements, Matthews' role was clear. His minutes stayed heavy. His matchups stayed difficult. He took key defensive zone faceoffs. He remained on the ice late in close games. Those deployment choices reflected trust from the coaching staff. Craig Berube continued to speak about structure and pace in the days that followed. He did not walk back his earlier comments about leadership. He also did not single out any player. Instead, he repeated that the team needed consistent effort across all three periods. His public message remained steady. Matthews' leadership role extended beyond scoring. After returning from injury, he resumed his position on the top line and first power play unit. His ice time remained among the highest on the team. According to NHL game logs, Matthews averaged over 20 minutes per game during that stretch. Those minutes included penalty kill shifts and defensive zone start, areas that often reflect coaching trust. In the days following those remarks, media coverage centered on the connection between the captain and the coach. Analysts replayed both Berube's earlier comments and Matthews' response. The sequence became the story. First, the coach challenged the leaders. Then, the captain answered publicly. Berube continued to praise Matthews' pace and effort in later interviews. Matthews continued to emphasize team play when asked about individual achievements. After breaking the franchise goal record, he redirected attention back to results and consistency. The exchange between coach and captain did not resolve the Maple Leafs' challenges overnight. Wins and losses continued, but the messaging inside the organization became clearer. Accountability was shared, responsibility was acknowledged, expectations were stated publicly, and as the season moved forward, that short statement after practice remained one of the clearest signals yet of how leadership inside the Maple Leafs room was responding to pressure.
With Marty Barrell. Marty, here's an observation I've made. Nothing seems to come easy for this Maple Leafs team.
The Toronto Maple Leafs were not dealing with one bad night or one missing player. The problems were deeper. Defensive numbers told the story. Injuries added weight. Then the general manager broke his silence. He did not shift blame. He did not promise quick fixes. What he admitted placed the entire season under a harsher light.
We're not where we want to be or where we envision to be. Obviously, we've underperformed to this point, and I take full responsibility. I'm in charge of the hockey department. I've put the people in place on the ice, off the ice, so the responsibility lies with myself, and we start today and every day trying to get ourselves back up and going and improve where we are.
The focus moved sharply to Brad Treliving after the Toronto Maple Leafs continued to struggle through the early portion of the season. During a media availability, the general manager addressed the team's performance directly. He stated, "We've underperformed to this point." That statement placed responsibility at the top of the organization, not on individual players or coaching staff, and it marked one of the clearest acknowledgments from the front office this season. Treliving expanded on that position by stating, "I'm in charge of the hockey department. I've put the people in place place on the ice, off the ice, so the responsibility lies with myself. The comment removed ambiguity about where accountability rests. At the time of those remarks, the Maple Leafs held an 8-9-2 record. They ranked second last in the Eastern Conference. The team had also allowed the second most goals per game in the league.
Brett Treliving, the general manager, had his media availability at about the quarter mark of the season, and things are not going well in Toronto right now when you look at the hockey club. And Noodles, one of the quotes that really stood out, there was a lot of great quotes that I want to talk about with you about Brett Treliving. One of them was, there's too much vanilla with our hockey team right now. And when I think of Brett Treliving talking about we need a new DNA, and right now he's saying there's